profession fit in? How were you going to bring this all together? You know, considering you were in the profession,
well,
in the legal
I was
profession.
born in Greece. Came here as a 13-year-old refugee. I had passed standard 6 in Greece, and when we arrived, there was Hellenic in Malvern, and my father took me there, and they said no, I was too old, it was a primary school, and they wouldn't take me. My father got a job in Pretoria as a laborer in ISCO, making munitions for the war. He took me to Pretoria Boys. I couldn't speak a word of English, and after 3 days they told me to go. I worked in a shop for 3 years, and in Jeppe, and my father's photograph and mine had appeared in the Sunday Times in 1941 when we arrived, under a heading Greek Farmer's Odyssey, because my father took the initiative to take 7 New Zealand soldiers trapped by the German occupation in Greece. And we were picked up by the British Navy in the middle of the Mediterranean and told that we couldn't go to Crete, where we were destined to go, because it was busy falling to the Germans, and we were taken to Egypt, and Egypt was in danger, and we came, 145 of us, Greek refugees. And I was working in the shop, and a woman came in, young woman, and looked at me and looked at me again, and said, "Are you the boy whose picture was in the paper?" I said, "Yes." She said, "What school do you go to?" I said, "I don't go to school." She said, "What?" She threatened the boss that she will call the inspector that he's employing children. They did it because I came from Pretoria with my father because he heard that there was a young man's Christian association in Jeppe, and they thought, well, you know, I was rejected there because I was too young. It was young men of 18 and over, and not 16, or not, 14 years old. And she said, "I'm coming on Monday, I'm a teacher, I'm taking him, he must wear his best, you must buy him a uniform." And her name was Cecilia Feinstein. And she actually gave me private lessons. She was living in Kensington, and after school I would go on the tram with her, and she would coach me and would sit on her veranda, and she made it her business that I get educated. My father wanted me to become a doctor, like most fathers, I think, but my marks were not good enough. And I was told by the registrar that I must go to Wits and to the arts faculty, and if I must take at least 4 subjects, and if I pass them, probably I would get a chance to go to. I did that, and I became enthused by Wits and the art school. I was 3 years older than most in the first year. But I took 6 subjects, including ancient Greek. And I did well. I passed the 6 subjects. I didn't bother to apply. I decided to do law. I worked for an attorney, Ruben Karnowitz, and I enjoyed ancient Greek and political theory and government and economics. I became radicalized. The nationalists won the election in 1948. Soon after, Dr. Malan, the Prime Minister, was asked by one of his members, what is going at this university with all the protests? Most of the students, by the way, had fought in the war and interrupted their studies, and they were back. And when the people that were against the war effort and applauding the Nazis and the fascists, there were a lot of protests. And according to some of the members of the community, I did a foolish thing. I spoke at a great hall and said, if wanting equal treatment for our black fellow students makes me a leftist, which is what Malan had said. He was told by the authorities that there was a small bunch of leftists who were making all the trouble. And what I said is, if that makes me a leftist, I'm proud to be one. The next day, in the Transvaal front page, links Gezind and trots daarop. Leftist and proud of it. The leaders of the community went to my father and said he must rein me in because I was bringing the reputation of the community into disrepute. And I became interested. I was very upset by the civil war that there was in Greece after the war. Our family was split. My father's cousin was on Makronissos, you know, it's the Robben Island of Greece. My father's sister's husband was a collaborator with the Germans. And my father wrote a letter to his cousin. And the collaborator during the Civil War went to my mother and said she must write to my father here that it should have nothing to do with the traitor in jail. And if she doesn't, she's going to go to the headmaster of the school in Kalamata, the provincial capital, to kick my 2 brothers and sister out of school. You know, this was the sort of thing that was